The 3D-Hub player supports multiple languages in a uniquely flexible manner. It allows switching between languages on the fly, but more importantly, it also allows users to add support for new languages to any lesson and share those translations with others. This video will demonstrate the process of creating a new language translation for a sample lesson. To do that, we'll start with this beating heart that shows how blood is cycled through the body and lungs. You can see that all the key elements of the heart's anatomy are labeled in English, and of course the user interface that controls what is being displayed is in English as well. If we click on the Change Display Options icon at the bottom of the player, we get this dialog. There you see a Preferred Language pull-down. As a first illustration, let's switch to a new language for which a translation has already been created. It's Simplified Chinese, notably a language that uses double byte characters. An important point to make here. What we've just done is set our preferred language. In order to actually see that language displayed in our selected lesson, a translation file for that lesson must exist. We'll discuss that in more detail shortly. In this case, we do know that there is a Chinese translation file available. If we press OK, we'll now see that both the dynamic labeling on the interactive 3D model of the heart, as well as all the user interface text, has changed to Chinese. Next, we'll take a look at how that translation was accomplished. The same methodology that we'll cover here is available to any user of the 3D-Hub player. If we again bring up the Change Display Options dialog, next to the Preferred Language pull-down, you'll notice a button labeled Translate. Push that and we get the Text Resource Editor, and you'll see that it has loaded all the text strings for this lesson. The first page of those are the text strings for the user interface. That's what you see here. To make changes, simply select a text string. You'll see it appear below in the Resource Details box. You can either type or paste a new string into that box. For our example, we'll start a translation for a new language. To make it interesting, we'll choose a language that doesn't use a standard English alphabet. How about Serbian? As a first edit, let's change the slide's title. To do that, select the text string for Resource ID number 1. You'll see that text appear in the Resource Details box at the bottom of the editor. Using Google Translate, we get the Serbian text string for human heart blood circulation, and swap that into the Resource Details box like this. Now press Update Resource. You'll see the new Serbian text string has been substituted for Text Resource ID number 1 above in the text strings list. Let's quickly take this edit all the way through the process and view it in the 3D-Hub player. To do that, we have to save a new language resource file. Pressing the Save button, you'll see that we're asked to declare a new language and are presented with a long list of languages and their Unicode IDs. In this case, we'll scroll down to Serbian and select it. You'll see that both the language and the Unicode ID get referenced. How that ID gets used will be clear in a moment. Press Add Language. You may have noticed that the Save Resource File browser that comes up by default will save this new language file in the same folder as the lesson file. In order for new language translations to be recognized by the 3D-Hub player, they must be located in the same folder as the 3D-Hub lesson file they reference. You'll see that the Unicode ID for Serbian has been appended to the Heart Blood Flow lesson name in the resulting translation file. This is how different translation files are recognized by the player. Press Save to save the new Serbian translation. Now back in the player's Display Options dialog, we'll need to add Serbian as a preferred language. Select the Preferred Language pull-down, press Add to List. Scroll down and select Serbian, and press OK. We'll see that the player has updated. It's now using the new translation file, and our new Serbian slide title is displayed. Okay, that's one round trip through the system. Let's go back into the Text Resources editor now and create another edit. To do that, we again click on the Change Display Options icon and press the Translate button. That loads the lesson's default translation file, but this time we need to load the Serbian text file that we've just created. To do so, press the Load Text Resource File button. When the file browser pops up, you'll see the file with the SR Unicode ID. Select that, and you'll be able to identify the slide title change that we've just made in the top line, labeled Resource ID number 1. The process of changing language for the entire lesson's user interface is simply a repeat of the cycle we've just gone through. Select a string, swap the translation into the Resource Details box, and press Update Resource. You can do the whole file in one session, and then save it to view your changes. As you do that, you may find that some of the words in the new language are notably longer or shorter than they were in English. In those cases, you can raise or lower the point size. Note that the Text Resource Editor also gives you full control over font, and even options such as bold or italic. Going further, you'll recall that there are other assets with text in the Heart lesson. Those are the various interactive 3D models. They all have labels. We need to change the language on those labels as well. To do that, we go to the Resource Component pull-down that's at the top of the Text Resources Editor. Click and pull down to see a list of the 3D models associated with this lesson. For this example, we'll select the file named Circulation System. That's the name of the beating 3D heart model. As it loads, you'll see the text strings are those that show up when you turn on labels in the lesson. This time, let's pick a label string from further down in the list. How about ID number 16? That's the superior vena cava. And you'll see that it's set up as a 2-line label. From Google Translate, we get the Serbian translation for superior vena cava and swap it into the Resource Details box, making sure we have a line feed. Then, just as before, we press Update Resource, and we'll see the new translated string up in Resource ID 16, where a vertical bar separates the 2 lines. That's quick and easy, so let's do a few more. How about inferior vena cava? Pick that, paste in the Serbian string, and Update Resource. You see the change gets moved to the text list above. Let's do the right ventricle. Google Translate tells us that Serbian for right ventricle is this, and update that resource. While we're at it, let's do the left ventricle. Swap in that string. And again, update resource, and above you see the changes for each of the respective text resource IDs. At this point, we've made changes to both user interface text and to the label text from interactive 3D models. Let's do a quick verification of the changes we've made. To do that, press the Save Resource File button to update our Serbian translation file with the new edits. Then press Close. That'll take us back to the player where the Change Display Options dialog is still open. We've already got Serbian selected as our preferred language. Close Display Options, and you'll see that the edits we've just done are now reflected in this translated version of the lesson. That's a quick overview of how new language versions of 3D-Hub lessons are created. You can see that the process is efficient and that the results can be viewed immediately. To share the translation file you've created with your colleagues, simply place it in the same folder as the lesson file it goes with on their computer. Then add the language you've translated to their preferred language settings. They'll instantly see the lesson with your translations. As part of its push to make lessons available in as many languages as possible, 3D-Hub is conducting a language promotion. To participate, customers can send us their translation files. In exchange, they will receive 3D-Hub store credit. Contact us for details at 3dhub.co.uk, and of course, don't hesitate to send any questions. Thanks for watching.